Okay, for this video we're going to be looking at a more professional way to print things. Thus far you've been just sort of using a window selection to grab a window around an object you want to print and selecting a scale for that object. There is a better way to print things, and that is through the use of another layout in Paperspace. What you've been using now is model space. So what I'm working in right now, when I can edit all these parts, this is model space. If I come down here to my layout tabs and I go to layout 1, I'm currently in Paperspace. So I'm just going to do sort of a quick multi-view printout of my pipe fitting here. If you haven't seen where I got this pipe fitting from, I show how I found that online in the other video from this class. So what I'm going to start out doing is, and this is something that basically any engineering job you have in the future, if you want your drawing to look professional, you're going to have a title block. That's something that you're going to set up in class later. I will put in my own for the meantime. So I'm inserting a block right now, which is something you learned in the block video. So I have my I've got my template that I set up from this class. So I'm going to insert my template. My insertion point is the corner, so I'm going to hit OK. Okay, here we go. Here's my block. So this is my title block. I'm going to put it here in the middle of my page. Okay, so right now I don't have any drawings or anything. So what I'm going to do to get my drawings to show up on the page is I'm going to come in here and go set up some viewports. And the command for that is Viewports. I think you can also do the Insert tab and find viewports. So since I know in my model space I've got an object that's sort of a front view and a profile view, and then I've got an isometric that I want to include as well. I think I'm going to use the 3 viewports. I'll use the above one so I can get my 2 multi-views and the isometric up above. Viewport spacing, I want them right up against each other. That's okay for now. You can play around with that later. So I have to specify sort of a rectangle that's going to be the corner points of my viewport. I can turn object snap on and snap to the corners of my title block. So now the viewports take up the expanse of my title block, so it's going to fit nicely on the page. Okay, so it just sort of filled in randomly. It looks like it's using different scales here. You can see that the objects are showing up in a different size in this one that's above than they are down here. Since I know if I double click on the viewport it brings me into model space, alternatively if I go back I can type Paperspace, which brings me back to the Paperspace, which is editing this block, and I'm back on the page layout. I can type MSpace. Oh, MPspace. No, MSpace. Okay, there we go. So that brings me into model space, and so I can click around in the different viewports, and I'm in model space. So I've got an object that has a. Let's see if I wanted to do. This is probably my biggest dimension here. A little over 3 inches. So I think to fit it nicely on this page, I'm going to do a half scale, so it shows up about 1.5 inches on paper. So down here is the scale of the selected viewport. I'm going to choose a scale of 1/2, or I can do a custom scale as well. That looks pretty good to me. So I will. Let's see. There's my sort of front view that I want to do. This one I'm going to change to 1/2 scale as well. I can lock the viewport once it's in place, so that if I accidentally click on it or anything, I'm not going to be able to change the scale or anything like that. You can see that the scale is locked now. I don't think I'll be able to move anything around in the viewport. You can see, even though I'm in model space, I can't pan around in the viewport anymore. So that is locked now. For this top one, I will do a scale of 1/2 as well. I just want to show, I don't want to show repeats of these ones, I just want to show that isometric up there. So what I'm going to do is shrink the viewport. So to do that, I'm going to go back into Paperspace, because the viewport is an object that lives in Paperspace. So objects live in either model space, like these objects, or Paperspace. The viewports and my title block, everything that's in this layout lives in Paperspace, and the viewports are allowing me to show through to look at model space, which is back in the model tab. So I've got the grid showing up in the viewports. Don't worry about that. That won't show up when you print. What will show up right now, if I were to hit print right now, was the viewports. The boundaries for those viewports would show up in my drawing. That is something that you're going to learn about how to fix later when you learn about layers. You can basically just say, I want to be able to see the viewports in Paperspace, but I don't want them to show up when I actually go to print the drawing. So just to wrap up this drawing before I could print, I want to change the title block. So I'm going to explode the title block. Since this is just a generic title block, I have generic names for all the text. There we go. So I'm going to edit this text, and if it would hurry up. Okay. So my text, my part is a Y fitting. I'll put in today's date, which is 11/3/15. My scale, remember I selected a scale of 1/2, so I'll make sure to put that in. And page 1:1. Okay, so I've got a more professional looking drawing here. And if I need to print a copy of this in the future, it's going to look exactly the same as how I printed it now, unless I change the viewports around. So that's a lot better than just going into model space and selecting a window, which potentially could be different every time. So now if I were to type plot, bring me up to the plot menu, I will select my printer. So if now I don't have to change any of these settings. The scale is 1, since that's my that's just what the layout was set up as originally. That's the default layout, is a 8.5 by 11 sheet. So if in what to plot, you can see I've got a new option now. Before you were just seeing display, extents, and window. Now I've got layout as well, since I'm in Paperspace. And if I hit preview, we can see that my viewports show up, but the grid did not. I've got my multi-view, my isometric, and I've got a drawing that looks slightly more professional than I was doing so before. So that is just a quick introduction to Paperspace, and it's going to be a good way to print more professional looking drawings.